the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
Prime Minister Mark Carney speaking during a high-stakes trade mission in China. Both Canada and China have now signed an economic and trade cooperation roadmap aimed at boosting trade after years of diplomatic rift. Here to discuss is Samuel Roscoe, Assistant Professor of Teaching at UBC. Good morning. Good to see you, Samuel.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Big day. This is a preliminary deal, as they say, but it is still a deal, and it's going to allow tens of thousands of Chinese EVs in Canada in exchange for lowering canola duties. So what is your reaction to that deal this morning?
Well, I think it's significant. They really sort of tried to lower everybody's expectations, and I think Mark Carney and President Xi have come back with some significant advancements in terms of the trade agreement. I think you've summarized it there. We've had to probably give a little to get a lot, in my opinion. I think, you know, they talked about this import quota of 49,000 vehicles, electric vehicles. But in return, now we're getting a 15% all-in tariff on canola, which will be significant for farmers across the prairies. So big wins there. And there's also been some movement on seafood as well, and tourism too. So it's been a really big deal that they've managed to announce today and over the past week.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people are looking at this and wondering, you know, who's winning here. Obviously, as you mentioned, canola farmers are breathing a sigh of relief. But cutting tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, it is a major shift as Canada is a major auto producer. What does this mean for the auto industry then?
Well, I think it's, you know, they talk about up to 49,000 Chinese EVs being allowed into the country. Overall, that's around about, you know, less than 3% of the overall sort of sales of vehicles across the country. So it's not huge, but it does mark sort of an opening up of the market. That's big. I do think that Carney touched on as well about significant investment from China into the auto sector in Canada. What I'm hoping to see is something like what Canada has done with the Japanese government, a lot of work with Honda and Honda's EV supply chain. And what they've done is they've set up EV production plants, and they're looking to have manufacturing facilities for EV batteries in conjunction with the Japanese government. I hope to see something similar with China direct investment into the Canadian auto sector to create jobs, working with BYD, obviously the largest EV manufacturer in the world. I also would hope CATL, which is also a manufacturer of EV batteries, would be looking to actually set up investment and actual manufacturing facilities in the country, and that would really help Canadians in terms of jobs and job growth here.
Okay, so, I mean, wait and see how that shakes down. But, I mean, what does this mean overall as far as the relationship between these two countries, which there's been a lot of discontent the last few years? Yeah,
I mean, it's significant in terms of patching over some old wounds between Canada and China. And I think there is an understanding that we need to move forward in the face of what's happening with the United States and with Trump's administration. All the chaos and uncertainty that's being created there is really just pushing every other country closer together, where it's pushing, you know, sort of isolating the United States. It's making countries such as, you know, the European Union and Canada closer to China. And I think China is coming out as a you know, a winner in terms of stability and partnerships here. So that's very significant.
What does this mean for CUSMA? Because if Mark Carney is walking on eggshells around, you know, this deal with China and knowing that the United States may not be happy with, you know, what has transpired, what does this mean for a deal with the U.S. and Mexico? Yeah,
well, it's tricky, isn't it? And I think Trump has been doing a lot of his normal posturing. He's saying that, you know, CUSMA is irrelevant. He's saying that we don't need Canada. And I think, you know, I think Carney is right to be looking for alternatives and diversifying outside of the U.S. I think that's what we have to do, because I think when it comes to CUSMA negotiations, it's going to be very difficult. And I don't think we're going to come out of the CUSMA negotiations very well when we're dealing with somebody such as Trump, who feels like all auto manufacturing should be done in the United States anyway. He doesn't feel like Canada should maintain an integrated supply chain with the United States in terms of automotive. So I think Canada has to protect its own interests, and I do think it has to really drive these relationships outside of the U.S.
Well, and that's what Mark Carney has tried to do here. Samuel Roscoe, assistant professor at UBC, thanks so much for joining us this morning and breaking it down for us.
Thank you.